In 1999, NBA teams averaged 91.6 points per game. In 2022, NBA teams averaged 110.6 points per game. Why is this? It's because the NBA is getting worse. Nobody is giving any effort on defense. Everyone is shooting threes, and those darn phones in social media make everyone want to score more. Oh, sorry. That was my impression of people born when Wilt Chamberlain was born. In my opinion, it is much different, and according to my YouTube analytics, most of you were also probably born after Wilt Chamberlain was retired, so I assume you are fine with most of the change going on. However, this still doesn't answer the question. Why? The basic answer is spacing. Back in the 90s, Michael Jordan would drive to the basket. On the blocks or somewhere in the short corner would be Luke Longley and Dennis Rodman. If you're defending Rodman, obviously you go over and help on Jordan. Even if Jordan dishes to Rodman, he's only about 10 feet away and the recovery is fairly easy. Now we're in 2020. LeBron is driving down the lane. If you help off your man to get LeBron, he'll kick it to the corner, and a good shooter will hit that three a good percentage of the time. Spacing opens the floor and makes getting open and finding open players much easier. Spacing also gives the benefit of some shots being worth 3 points. I'm just a kid, and if you're disagreeing with me, you're probably a very elderly and wise person, but I think we can agree that 3 is more than 2. Back in the very low-scoring year of 1999, teams only made about 4.5 threes a game. In 2022, teams made 12.5 threes a game. That's an extra 8 points per game, assuming the extra 8 threes are being scored in the 2-point area. At this point, it's obvious that spacing in threes creates more points. But where are all these other points coming from? Now, don't get me wrong. Are there some players who give more effort on defense? Yes. But there were still these types of players back before the scoring explosion. Overall, I'd say the defense isn't getting worse, the offense is just getting better. Defense is a reactionary task. You can try and predict what your opponent is going to do, but most of the time the defense can just react to the offense. This means that good offense will beat good defense because the defense is always just a bit behind. That's why scorers back in the day, like MJ, were scoring like players today. They had the skills to always keep the defense one step behind. However, I'd say the average NBA player now has more scoring options than the average players 25 years ago, meaning even the average defender will struggle, and a lot of this again comes back to spacing and shooting. When everyone's defenders are more spread out and your shooting range is longer, there's significantly more open space on the court for role players to get open shots. On a drive, the helped defender either has to give up a wide open layup or 3 because there's no way they can make the 20+ foot recovery in the seconds it takes for the pass to get there. Back in the 90s, however, defenders can make the 10-foot recovery to a big who you'll allow to shoot the mid-range jumper anyways. Basically, what I'm saying is defense will always be a task where you must react to the offensive player, leaving the defender a step behind when the offense is good. We're going to start this chapter off with a fact. When an NBA player is open, they tend to shoot the ball. I say tend to because, but in general this is the case. As I pointed out when talking about spacing, there's a lot more open space when defenders are spread out. This allows people to get to open space early in the shot clock and shoot the ball. This leads to the pace of the game being sped up, which leads to more shots being put up, and more shots means more points. People aren't shooting more shots because the defense is letting them, or because they're chucking up dumb shots. They're shooting more because there are more opportunities. Want statistical proof? In 1999, the Sacramento Kings were the only team to average over 100 points per game. They also led the league in pace that year with a pace rating of 95.98. Finally, they were 5th in the 3-point makes per game with 5.8. The Minnesota Timberwolves led the league in points per game with 115.9, pace at 100.9, and 3-point makes with 14.8 in 2022. It is clear that spacing helps pace, and pace leads to overall higher scores. So now there's only one question left. Why didn't teams in the 90s shoot a ton of threes, up the pace, and score more? Now, before any of you come for my head in the comments, what I mean by skill is in the average NBA player. I think Michael Jordan is one of the most skilled players of all time, but most of his role players were one-dimensional. Either they could play defense, they could shoot, score around the rim, or just straight up weren't good. Back then, Michael Jordan's tall, athletic wing who could shoot was considered the greatest second option of all time. Now having 3-and-D wings is the base of a good NBA team. I'm not saying Scottie would be an average NBA player by today's standards, but none of these stats scream first ballot Hall of Famer, at least comparing them to some of the fringe players of today. Teams could not create all the space we have now because the only way to do that back then would be to run a full lineup of tiny guards and get destroyed on the boards, as well as your lineup not having any defense. Now we have bigs and wings who can space the floor, but why? I think it's because the reach of the NBA is greater than ever. Just in the US alone, there are more AAU programs and high-level camps than ever before. This allows the best players to play the best competition and ultimately become the best versions of themselves. And we aren't even talking about international talent yet. The NBA has become a global league. This has caused other countries to start basketball programs. Now kids who never would have played organized basketball are getting the opportunity to play against high-level competition. Luka, Jokic, and even the Greek Freak would never have made it to the NBA 40 years ago. Now the talent pool of tall athletic basketball players is more competitive than ever, and we are seeing that in the skill level of the NBA. Humans have always been resistant to change. We grow accustomed to something and we panic when it's different. I targeted older fans a lot throughout this video, but honestly there will probably be a time when you are uncomfortable. In the 80s, there were probably some old Jordan Mikan fans that thought Jordan was ruining the NBA with his guard skills. The NBA has come a long way, but it is just going to keep changing. Players will keep getting more talented, strategy will get more complex, and the defense will get even more difficult. Many will resist this change, but it is important to embrace it. We are seeing the most strategically complex and skilled basketball ever, and like I've said, we are only going to go up from here. One day, I hope to turn on an NBA game and there are 7-foot ball handlers coming off the bench because the league has gotten so good. Will scores go up and defense look less valuable? Yeah, but it's all part of the process. Now, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I made a similar video on why there were so many blowouts last week. It goes deeper into some points that I briefly mentioned in this video, so if you found this one interesting, you'll enjoy it. Anyways, please be sure to like and subscribe for more videos weekly. Peace out.